But next we're going to look at perhaps from an IT perspective, how we can make sure that the manufacturing remains lean and supplied in an efficient way. So I'd like to invite to the podium Kai Althoff, the COO of 4Flow. Thank you, Kai.
Hello, good afternoon. I really appreciate to have the chance to speak to you this afternoon. And after you have participated in a view on the distant future, my speech will take care a little bit more about current innovation topics and the probably next 5 years. I picked out a topic we are currently implementing as well with some of our clients here in China, where we do end-to-end integration of the supply chain and use new digital possibilities to significantly increase efficiency. Some of you might not have heard about 4Flow before. That I definitely want to change now. What is 4Flow? 4Flow is a company with a very integrated business model itself. We provide services to provide every of our clients measurable results in the improvement of logistics and supply chain. For that, we offer consulting services, we offer supply chain optimization software, and 4PL services. So we can fit to the different needs of different client strategies if you want to do a project, or if you want us to enable you, or if you want to hand over your business processes for optimization to us. 4Flow is the right partner here. 4Flow has about 440 team members today. We grew since foundation, so I really like to mention that because nobody knows how long it will last. So since beginning, the last 17 years, we grew every year in terms of revenues, which of course shows the impact of what we can provide here. Of our 440 people, 50 are located here in China. We are in the market since 5 years. And for us, China is the most important region outside Europe, and in future it will be the most important region for us on the planet, that's for sure. We have seen the reasons for that, I think, the whole day already. So 4Flow is an international company with its origin and still headquartered in Germany, in Berlin. And we are 100% owned by ourselves, which enables us to really take a sustainable view on how we do business. With whom do we do business? We do 75% of our business with vehicle manufacturers and their suppliers. Maybe one of the reasons I'm allowed to be here today. So what is your daily business is our daily business too. Speaking about your daily business, there are, of course, talking about supply chain and logistics, particularly here in China, some specialties to keep in mind. If we look at logistics and supply chain in terms of distances, we have heard before, we have to cope with quite some bigger distances than in other regions of the world. A lot of your supply base is not even in China, maybe outside of China. So we speak about long logistic chains being a source of potential disruption and inefficiencies. We have a transportation industry which has developed tremendously during the last year, but still is in a multi-tier industry which is scattered and which is not too easily to integrate into modern supply concepts. We have developing standards, we have changing regulations, We definitely have a lot of complexity here. But that is good news for everybody in supply chain and logistics. If there's complexity, we can add a lot of value to the overall operations of our corporations. What do we strive for? This is valid since some decades. By the end of the day, it is our overall objective to provide synchronized supply chains. So the idea is still, there is this client buying the car at the end of the day, and the most efficient supply chain delivering to him is a totally synchronized, tacted supply chain over all tiers. The distribution networks, the OEM plants, the transportation chains, the parts suppliers, and so forth. To achieve this overall objective, we apply today advanced technologies to realize processes and organizational structures which we were not able to realize in the last decades. I want to pick out two things which are of primary importance for us here. Corporate networks are existing since the start of corporate existence itself. But what does not exist in most of today's industrial corporations is a management approach towards the network. So what are possibilities to really think as a network, to act as a network, and to reap the benefits which your network can provide to you? Here we see, especially in the automotive industry, that, for example, if we speak about responsibility, the P&L usually lies in the plants, if I look at the industrial part of the networks. This is an incentive since decades not to think about the total picture, but we have to if we want to be competitive in the future. The second essential element to achieve supply chain excellence certainly is adaptability. So this morning we started with the numbers. I think that was a great start into the day. And we saw that we have still the same behavior of the supply chains as we had in the past decades. We see within 1 month rises and drops of volumes between 30, 40, 50% sometimes. And we all know how supply chains behave. If at the end we have these fluctuations, we of course have bullwhip effects which drive even further down in the supply chain, the volume fluctuations much higher. This is definitely something where we all have a lot of room for improvement still, and to become much more adaptive to these changes is something where we developed and implemented successfully concepts during the last years. One of these concepts we call integrated transportation management. What is that? If you look at this reference model we developed together with our clients, there's something on there which everybody does. You see on the very left-hand side something everybody does somehow. You all do network optimization. You all do some sort of strategic planning. And if you look at the very right-hand side of this concept, there's something as well everybody does, transportation execution. If we wouldn't do it, nothing would happen at all. And what is not existing in most of today's corporations are the two steps in the middle. What does that mean? That means that the standard in the automotive industry is still that daily operations hit a structure which has been designed a year or more before than today. That leaves us the possibility, by the end of the day, if we speak about transportation, to take care about shipments only. So the shipments fall out of the sky, and we try to handle them in the best possible way, most efficient. But this is not what state-of-the-art thinking could provide. Of course, it would be much better not to think about shipments, but about demands. So the idea of this concept is to take the data available in the supply chain and update at each point in this planning funnel according to the data available. Meaning supplementing this process by a tactical transportation planning, so taking the volume, the network structure, the product information you have for the next half year, for the next quarters, into account and see how can I prepare for that what will definitely come. And I will arrange in that phase alternatives which prepare me for the short-term changes which definitely will occur, as we all know. That is then the next step where we speak about a dynamic planning and transportation optimization. The idea is here to take much closer to reality volumes to optimize for the next week, for tomorrow. And that is something we can do because on the beforehand, in the tactical and strategic phase, we already work with the same processes, with the same data structures, with the same transportation structure in mind, to then be able, on a short term, to apply alternatives due to the quick and short-term changes we see, and have a perfect integration with the execution part here. So integration means integrating this whole process, yes, but that's only one truth. The second truth about integrated transportation management is what Louis started in this very morning with, is bringing the people together. If I want to do something like a continuous optimization in supply chain, in transportation, I of course need to integrate my partners. Adaptability I will only generate if I can optimize together with my transportation service providers, my parts suppliers, with my distribution structures, and I need to set up platforms that provide me the means of communication with them to make short-term changes. That is the second way of integration. And the last and most important integration is to think cross-functional, to make transportation not only an issue of the transportation departments on this planet, but also on the departments before and after, on the companies after and before. So having here a three-way integration into transportation management. If you want to do that, ForFlow can provide you with the processes, with the organizational concepts, and of course with the technology to implement such a concept. Speaking about organization, of course, if I want to optimize networks, I cannot do it by a plant-centric organizational structure. I have to set up responsibilities which are on a level higher. So I have to have responsibilities which are on a network level. Apart from that, it is most important that within such networks, I agree on standards in processes, on standards in technology, on standards in data, to be able to run that network. To be efficient with the integration of partners, we apply, of course, web-based technologies and state-of-the-art optimization techniques. And coming to that, reason why we do this, by the end of the day, we do this, of course, to be able to grow efficiently, to improve services, but most important, to be more efficient, to reduce costs. So with such an approach, we are able to significantly reduce transportation, supply chain costs. In all cases, we have done this implementation here in China, we had more than 25% of cost reduction in the core functions of transportation and logistics. And the good news is, to set up such an adaptive process, we don't speak about one-time reduction, we speak about putting operations into a new level of efficiency every day from now on. Some highlights on how we make this happen. First, we of course have to apply modern techniques to be able to handle the complexity of the networks, to be able to do optimization fast enough, and even most important, to do realistic optimization. One of the biggest lacks of simulation or optimization techniques, computer-based, is that you always have to build a model. And this model and the quality of that model decides about how realistic is it what you are doing there. So what we have done during the nearly past 20 years is taking common models of optimization and developing them further and further and aligning them much more to the needs of the realistic world out there. We measure our quality of optimization algorithms by the distance the model has to the reality. Why is that? Because first, you take reality, you put it into a model, and then second, the problem you have to cope with is you have to put the model into reality again, otherwise you are not implementing. So that is how we measure the quality of our algorithms, by the distance between reality and model. And for the strategic planning and tactical planning, we have developed Forflow Vista, who is able to handle the data available in the networks in a way that we can build models which then fall very close to reality and provide really a value for all participants in the supply chains in the automotive industry. The value of an integrated process, like I presented it before, becomes especially apparent if we look at one of the standard means of transportation. Milk runs are very sensitive to changes. Why? Because usually a long time before, I decide to combine transports with one another, which have a medium volume. So you probably combine 2, 3, or 4 transportation needs to one transport. So if we have volume fluctuations there of 20, of 30, or 40%, the whole milk run will get in trouble, because either you have trucks filled 30%, or you have situations where you have not sufficient capacity to do transportation. So here it becomes really apparent what the benefit of a dynamic optimization is. So taking the volumes of next week, of the next day, and having a look at the milk runs you have in your network, optimizing that again, add a milk run, change a milk run, as you have prepared in your tactical planning, is really a benefit to your overall transportation networks. And looking at a third piece I have explained to you before, which is the integration of the partners. Unfortunately, due to the structure of transportation industry here in China, it is not a corporate issue to do really supply chain integration there. So due to the multi-tier structure of the transportation networks, it's really important to set up working means of integrating into the truck by the end of the day. What we made very good experiences with is here a technology based on WeChat, where we integrate directly with the truck driver, providing data on GPS basis there, and being able to communicate bidirectional, not only from the truck to the driver, but the other way around too. And especially important to provide proof of delivery within a short period of time. This I will skip as I have learned that time is nearly up here. So I would like to summarize about what is the key to success for such projects. First, you have to have a business case. The project I'm speaking here about is a project which, if you are fast, you can run it in 8 to 12 months if you have a big corporate network. But you definitely need a business case because you need to invest in processes, in structure, and in organization. That is the first factor of success. Second factor of success, I was speaking a lot about cross-functional thinking, cross-functional structures. What comes with cross-functionality is the need for top management support. So if you want to successfully implement such projects, it's vital that you have top management support behind your project, because it is not possible to run it out of logistics alone, out of production, out of sales alone. You will need all the departments at the table and top management support here. The third factor of success is it is very important, and this is my closing thought for this speech, to take care about the people. Most important in such projects is to set up a proper change management and to understand, although we apply state-of-the-art technology, this state-of-the-art technology is only meant to make your people working in a better way and managing your supply chains, your networks in a more efficient and better way. Not rarely we are changing the work of more than 1,000 people with such a project. And if you forget that in the project, you will not succeed. So bringing the people together for us is definitely at our core interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kai, for giving us another interesting look at supply chain models, the integration that's required, the buy-in from everybody working together, including from the top management, and of course the people. I think one of the themes running through this session was about integration, communication, bringing everybody together, the important role of that. And as I said at the beginning of the conference this morning, that's what our theme for all of our conferences this year globally at Automotive Logistics is, very much that theme of bringing people together, partly as a conference. That's what a conference is for. But it's also a theme for everything that's going to happen and change in the industry. It means companies working together externally, collaborating with other competitors sometimes, but also very definitely means improving communication within our own companies sometimes as well. And your final point there as well, Kai, about the people. We've talked a lot about the technology, what the technology is doing for the industry and what we're bringing in, IT and autonomous vehicles and so on. But as we noted at another recent conference, technology is not the solution, it's the enabler. It's the people working together and using the technology wisely that will be the end solution. So again, although we've run over a bit on time, I just wanted to give again an opportunity for the audience, for the delegates out there, if anyone has any questions to ask. Now is a good time. You know the rules. Raise your hand, and then if you have a question, wait for the microphone to come to you. And just again, my other warning is, If you're not asking a question because you're waiting, because you want to go for coffee, then unfortunately we will still ask some questions. So you might as well ask your question now anyway. So there is a question from an old-looking guy here at the front. Apologize, the guy with the microphone is new to our company, so still a little bit slow. So.
This kind of abuse to his employees, this is not the example you should set when we talk about nurturing people. A question for Kai. We heard from Martin about the vertical integration in China, and that'll probably stay that way. We know there's some peculiarities as well that are specific to the way Chinese manufacturers are organized if you compare to Germany, for example. But what sort of challenges do you face as a kind of 4PL in terms of dealing with that integration? How do you manage, at what level can you work with these organizations? And second, to the point you made to the end about collaborating across departments, is that a challenge from the outside to, because do you depend upon the company itself to be well organized internally, or do you, as a kind of 4PL, need to then get in and connect to those departments, if you understand my question?
Yes, I certainly do. So already the answer on question number 1 will be a part of the question 2 already. In our experience, the internal suppliers are usually the ones which are most difficult to integrate into change processes and to convince about the necessity to innovate. So in our experience, these projects can add very high value, especially within corporations too, because there is definitely a need to enhance collaboration between internal suppliers and plants as well, between plants and the distribution network, so the dealer network. There are big potentials out there, definitely. I think that probably was already the answer on both questions, but I want to mention as well that for this, again, and unfortunately that is not given in logistics and supply chain, you need the top management. And you better look at your project organizational charts, who is in the steering committee, and if you have no top management there, such projects will not happen.